Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 563, our top 5 income games.
Welcome, citizens, to Meeple Nation. Grab your favorite beverage, pull up a chair, warm up those dice, and join us at the game table as we discuss board games and the board gaming world. Each week, the hosts of Meeple Nation share their love for board games and the amazing memories that come from playing games with some very outstanding people. Let us now join our hosts in their natural habitat, the game table.
Meeple Nation Podcast is sponsored by GameToppersLLC.com. They have an amazing site full of amazing products. We love their toppers. Go to their website, buy one for yourself, and improve every game night. That's GameToppersLLC.com.
Fantastic. We are the hosts of Meeple Nation. I am Douglas Stewart.
And I'm Nathan Howard.
And we have a webpage. Go check out meeplenation.com, where you can listen to all of our past episodes, learn more about us, see what's happening on the old socials, visit the Patreon link, and, of course, we would love to hear from you. So please drop us a line at meeplenation@gmail.com.
All right, Doug, tapping that watch. It is Highlight 30.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got one I want to talk about here, and I hate it when a game... Okay.
I'm excited about this game.
And you should be, because I think that you're going to like it. And I liked it. I didn't love it.
Oh.
We have been, I think both of us, pretty excited about Bear Mountain Camping Adventure.
Yes.
And for good reason, right? It's a deck builder. It's got that really cool, it's that nice like outdoors camping theme. It's very relaxed, right? It's a very relaxed style game. The artwork on it's really good. The components are really good. It's a great production. It's also a new design team. And it shows.
Oh, really?
That's unfortunately, it does show that this is a new design team, and it really is a good production. And it really is Sweater Bear Games. You know, this is a great, I think, maiden voyage for them. This was a game that really could have used a little bit more of a professional touch, like someone who had some more experience, I think, in the hobby, just helping them understand that they needed a little bit more direction with what you were building toward, right? Like you're building a deck and that part's interesting, but it's like, okay, but to what end are you building your deck and what are you trying to achieve? It is clear what you need to do, but the path gets a little convoluted. Like you can definitely find yourself just deck building to deck build with no real direction, right? It's kind of like, okay, I'm sitting here doing the stuff, I'm going through the motions, but like to what end?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Culling your starter cards, there's one space that you can do it, and there's a couple cards. It makes the cards that come out in the deck that allow you to cull cards, it makes them incredibly valuable. I mean, they are highly sought after, coveted kind of cards that everyone's going to want to jump on and spend all their resources for the minute that they hit the market. And you know, in a higher player count game, there's probably not going to be enough for everyone to get them, at least not right out of the gate. So if you're one of the players that gets one of those cards early, you are probably going to do very well in terms of you know, managing your decks. There's also some take that cards that totally should have been like optional. You know, I'm thinking of Lizard Wizard, how it marks them, and then you have the option of sort of taking them out, you know, to play like a friendly game or an aggressive game. It definitely needed that because the cards that are aggressive in this are ridiculously aggressive. Like they're the real like feel bad kind of aggressive. So there are a few things. Now I went ahead and just like took them out. So when we play, like we won't have those in there, and I think it's going to be fine. It'll be totally okay. But some things that the game does really well. It is a deck builder, but it's actually a dual deck builder. So you actually have sort of you have two decks of cards, and each sort of have a little bit of a different focus in terms of the resources that they're generating. And so you're actually managing two decks that you're building and managing. And if one is a little better than the other, you have specific spots out on the campground spots that you may want to go to so that you're drawing more of those particular cards than you are of other cards. There's, I think, some interesting mechanics when it comes to upgrading. Like you start with a tent and then you can get a little like camper and then a mid-size RV and eventually get like a big RV, like you're really, you know, camper extraordinaire.
Couch on wheels.
Kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. The art is genuinely really good. I would compare it. I don't think it's quite the same, but it is very similar to like Parks.
Okay.
You know, that uses that really nice stylized art. Like I said, it has really great components. The rule set is not bad on this. And if people kind of know what they're doing, you can take turns pretty quickly. One of the frustrations when we played it was we played it at 5 and I played it with my kids, and my kids are notoriously, like a couple of them especially, take a long time to take turns because they kind of sit and think about stuff on their turns and they don't pre-plan very well. And they're more interested in what's happening on their phones when it's not their turn. And so,
right here.
that was definitely one of those frustrating things, was that it went much longer than it should have. But it does ask players to make, I think, some interesting decisions and some interesting trade-offs. So, you're kind of working your way through these different campgrounds to finally make it to the Bear Mountain campground, which is like the big coveted spot. But as you progress, you've got to pay resources in order to do that. And as you advance in the campgrounds, you draw fewer and fewer cards. So you need to make sure that your decks are built with more powerful cards so that you are still generating more resources with fewer cards, and that you're sort of planning like, okay, I feel like my deck has reached a certain strength where I can move on to the next campground. And then, okay, now I think I've gotten it refined a little bit more, or I've stacked up enough resources. I'm going to move on to the next campground, that kind of thing. And I think that's actually an interesting decision space that they have created with the game, but it flows nice. It's a fun deck builder. I think, I'm very excited to play it a few more times and to see how it changes based on player count and based on taking some of those other cards out. I also took some of the expansions and mixed those in, and I think they come with some really interesting cards that actually do some good stuff too. So I am very excited to play more of this game, but I will admit that it didn't hit the way I was hoping that it would.
Yeah. Well, I'm still excited to try it for sure.
Definitely.
I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully while we're in Bryce.
Yep.
I would love to give that a shot. So even with that warning.
Yeah.
That advisory.
Yeah.
I'm full steam ahead.
Yeah. It does come with just a little bit of a caution, I think. And I think it's kind of a well-deserved caution. They are mistakes that you see new designers make, actually. If you go back and kind of look at other games, it's rookie mistakes. You hate to say that, to see that, but it's something that really, if somebody had helped them who just had a little bit more design sense or had been around a little bit, I think could help them make some changes to the game that would have been needed. But it's still good, and I'm still excited about it. I'll be excited to play it with you and to get your take on it as well.
Sounds good. I played one with Andy and Brad a while back that you were actually pretty excited to try, and that was Rebirth. The new
you guys did get to play
Knizia.
this. Okay.
Yeah. It's nice. It comes with a dual-sided board, Scotland and Ireland on the other side. It's kind of funny. The Ireland side has, I'm thinking it's a play on words, but you have a Dublin icon, which you can double the rewards that you get, and you have Dublin.
I see what he's doing there.
Yeah, it was kind of I smiled and still rolled my eyes at the same time. But
it's not Dublin, Ireland. You're doubling your resources.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
But it's a very interesting game. You have some resources that you're trying to put out on the board. You're putting plant farm resources, and you're putting out energy farms that you're trying to gain energy, and you're trying to expand those. As you put one out, you can put them on, they have to go on an icon that either matches the farm icon or the lightning icon if it's an energy one, or either one of those can go on a blank tile, something that doesn't have a reserved tile type. And each one that you add to a cluster is going to increase the score. So the first one I'm going to put down is going to be worth 1 point. If I put a second one adjacent to that, then the second one's going to score me 2 points. And we had people who were scoring 12 points at the end of the game where they had allowed that chain to go on. And you can try to block your opponents. And there's options on the board where you can totally expand out and not really get in each other's way. There were avenues that you could use to block people. I wouldn't call it a take that type of a game, but there was avenues where you could try to block people out from gaining even more and more points. But if it's just me trying to block you, Doug, then I'd probably be better focused to work on what's gaining me points instead of stopping you get points. Then there are, you have the houses that you're going to put on. There's clusters that are separated by either 1 hex, 2 hex, or 3 hex. The Ireland side has hex groups that has up to 4, and you're going to score points depending on if you have the majority of buildings within that section. And if it's a single one, then you're just going to multiply the number of houses that you put on that tile ×1 since there's just one tile, where the second one, you're going to get the majority points if you're first player, and you're going to get a minority points if you're second player. And if there's the 3 group, then only the first and second player are going to get points. And whoever's tied for third does not get points, or not tied for third, but whoever's in third will not score any points for those triple ones. It's very much a game where you're trying to monopolize, take advantage of the board and the options. But the great thing is you have a bag resource that you're pulling your tiles out of. And so you are limited to what you pull out of the bag. And everybody's bag is the same, with the exception that you will pull out a number of tiles. On the Scotland side, you'll pull out 2 tiles that you will not be playing, and you can see what you're not going to be playing. And that can be frustrating because that could be tiles that you're very much wanting. And without fail, I mean, when a strategy falls out, of course, it's the 2 tiles that you excluded that you're trying to look for. But all in all, very enjoyable game. We played it on the Scotland side, then we hurried and flipped it right over and played on the Ireland side. The Ireland side has a little bit of nuance differences in the mechanic, like I mentioned, the Dublin, the public goals, where on the Scotland side, you're going to acquire some private goals. But it is nice that you have 2 versions of the game in one box, and this is the Kickstarter version, so it's got some pinky up pieces. But I still very much enjoyed it. Is it my number 1 favorite Rainier Knizia game? Definitely not. But I very much enjoyed it, and it will be one that I'm pretty sure I'm going to be playing 10 times this year.
Great. Yeah. No, I really want to try this one. It reminded me a lot of Mille Fiori in a lot of ways. I mean, not necessarily the aesthetic.
Yeah.
But this idea that you have a lot of different options on where to put stuff and you're kind of scoring in different areas, that kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, now I'm looking at it on BGG. It says it has a weight of about 2.07. So a little lighter.
Yeah. Did you feel lighter?
Did you feel like that's pretty accurate? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I would almost say it's less than 2.7, 2.07.
Really? Okay.
But a lot of that is you're going to draw your resource out of your bag and then try to take advantage of what's going to give you the most points on the board.
Okay.
And so there is strategy,
which is very Mille Fiori-ish, right? It's you're drafting a card instead of drawing a resource from a bag, but it's the whole idea that I have something and I just need to place it in such a way that I score the most points possible.
Mille Fiori does it much better.
Okay.
But Rebirth I'm not discounting it at all. Still a very good game.
Awesome.
But if you're going to judge the 2, I would go with Mille Fiori.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. No, that's good to know. I know that this was one that was crowdfunded. Not very many of his games, I think, do crowdfund.
I'm trying to recall. I don't know was this his first one?
That would surprise me if it was. It could have been though. It could have been. But I do know it's rare to see a Rainier Knizia game crowdfunded like this one was, and it did look good. I almost backed it. The only reason I didn't was because I knew you did.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to playing it. That's great.
I think you'll like it still.
Excellent. Yep. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, with that, we are out of Highlight 30. We kind of went on those games.
Yeah, a little bit.
And we never dismissed Andy. Andy's not here.
No, he's not.
So
wasn't here last week. And
and he's.
We're hoping he'll be back. He's got other obligations.
Yeah. So we got our top 5 income games. So we talked last week and we kind of blurred those lines, what we defined as an income game and what was not an income game. But just to recap that in the board game world, the income mechanic refers to a system that determines how players acquire resources or points throughout the game, whether it is a resource acquisition or resource management. So it says it right there in the BGG description.
Totally. Yeah.
Resource management, resources that are gathered or used to buy other items that the players use throughout the game.
Yeah. So. And what we had talked about last week is just that my definition of what an income game is, I think is much more strict than what this definition would allow. And there's a lot of games that pop up if you run the income game through a filter on BGG.
On BGG.
There's a lot of games that pop up that I would be like, that is just a resource management game.
Yeah.
This is not an income game. But again, that is my subjective opinion on.
And there was games that didn't show up on the list.
Yeah. Absolutely. There were games that it was like, well, that because I went down and started looking through my games. I was like, wait a minute, this is an income game. This is totally an income game. And it didn't pop up on the list at all. So yeah, it's interesting what BGG, which is an imperfect system, right? Because you ultimately have people making the call on whether certain mechanics, are integrated into certain games. And I don't think that they get it 100% correct. But anyway, all of that to say, definitions, loose
for sure.
But we're going to talk about some really great income-based games, or games that deploy the income mechanism in a fun and enjoyable way.
All right. I will start us off. My number 5 was a game that I kept trying to talk about last week, but had to stop myself short. And this is Power Grid. Power Grid is a game that I played a ton of when it first came out. This came out in 2004, so it's been around 20 years now. There are a ton of maps available. It's had a couple of editions. It has a card version. I don't know if it has a dual version, Doug. Maybe we can see if we can get that on the works somehow.
Yeah, I'm sure it's coming soon if it hasn't been announced already.
But this is definitely one of those games where when somebody starts to take the lead, it is
a runaway leader.
Clearly obvious that they're going to win the game unless they do something drastic that messes that up.
Unfortunately, though, the game still goes on for another hour.
Yeah, and it does. I do see that, and I do see the frustration of that. But I still very much enjoy this game. And I think we've played it so many times that most of the games I played, there were very few games that the runaway leader ran away drastically.
Okay.
The games were pretty close, at least
That's
for
good.
the bulk
That's
of
good.
the people. And but yeah, no, I totally get where people complain where the game is the runaway leader and nothing you can do about it.
The one game of this that I played literally had 2 people. So I think we played with 5. I want to say there was a 5-player game.
It was 5 players.
And I literally had 2 people at the table just begging us, like, can you won? End? Can we please just end? Yeah. Like, you got
And
this.
I think we did eventually.
We saw it through to the end because Dave was playing and we had to finish it. But it was, we hurried it up. We got to the point where we're like, okay, we're just like, take fast turns. Yeah. Just go. Yeah. So
now still a game that has a lot of key memories for me and very much enjoy it, but that is Power Grid.
Interesting. Okay. So I've got a couple, like 3 of my top 5. I think I have no problem calling them very clear income-based games. 2 of them on the list, I'm stretching just a little bit because the player kind of creates the income phase. They sort of create that opportunity for themselves. It's not a phase of the game, but it is an option for the player, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So my number 5 is Western Legends. And I really like this because there's a lot of different ways in which you can make money in the game, but that money, it doesn't do you a lot of good. I mean, it does. You can buy stuff with it. You can definitely acquire like your gear, your horses and all that. Like, so it is a resource in the game that can be spent to acquire stuff, right? But it can also be cashed in at the bank for the legendary points. Right? I think it's $30 per point, but if you've got max money, which is 120 in the game, you can go up to the bank and you can cash it all out for 4 legendary points. I believe that's the proper amount. And so I really like this as an income game because I feel like the income in it is very interesting. There's not only a lot of different ways in which you can earn it. You can earn it through, gambling and through doing different things with the cattle or going to rob the train, or you can go prospecting. You can do all these things. So you're going to be making money, but then what you decide to do with it is also different, right? Am I using it to level up my character and buy gear and do all that kind of stuff? Or am I using it to just transfer straight into what are essentially victory points? And so I find that money, air quotes, money income in this game is really interesting. And there's a lot of decisions to be made around that resource. So it's my number 5. Again, based on my working definition, I think it's maybe a little bit more of a stretch, but it still makes my number 5.
Yeah, it's a good game. I played it the one time with, apparently was with Dave and Julie. Dave wanted to make sure that we knew that I was reminded that I played it with him, but it was a game I would very much enjoy playing again.
Yeah, it's good. It's great. It's one of my all-time favorite games. I mean, I love Western Legends. Yeah. So we definitely need to play it.
Yeah, let's get it off the shelf and onto the table again. It's no number 4 on your list, but I would definitely try it. So my number 4 has kind of an interesting twist on the income. There's no actual revenue that you're creating.
Okay.
But if you control locations, then those locations will allow you to produce certain resources such as ships or vehicles. And so this is Star Wars Rebellion. This is an absolutely amazing 2-player game that really kind of takes that Star Wars nuance and puts it into the movie, or takes the movie and puts it into a game. It's my number 2 to Star Wars Imperial Assault as my favorite Star Wars games. In Star Wars Rebellion, you try to control planets, and if you control planets, when it comes time to generate resources or generate income, which is generating, recruiting ships, recruiting starships, ion cannons, snow speeders, TIE fighters, X-Wings, Y-Wings, all the whole gamut, you're generating those ships because you have control of those planets, and those planets have the resources on hand to create those Star Destroyers or whatever. And your opponent can totally come in and sabotage or subjugate those planets can take control away from you, or have temporary control, or go in and just have presence there, and their presence will allow them to block you and those resources. Star Wars Rebellion is an amazing game. I very much love it. And I played it with Andy. I haven't played this with you, have I, Doug?
No, I haven't played this game yet. I'd really like to.
Yeah, this is one that we need to try to get to the table and let you experience that too. And again, it's not a 4-player game. It's not a 3-player game. This is a 2-player game that you're going to set aside some time to play, and you're very much going to enjoy your experience. And you're going to go away, and you're not going to go away. You're going to leave the table, and you're going to walk away thinking, that was an excellent Star Wars experience.
Nice. And that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Right. And its ability to recreate that experience, I think, is one of the reasons why it's a top 10 game, I believe, top 15 for sure, but it's up there for sure. Yeah. So yeah, that's excellent. My number 4 is a game that apparently you like more than I do.
I love this number 4.
And it didn't make your list, but overall, I think you like this game a little bit more than I do. And I've championed this for a long time. This is Dinogenics. I really love the income phase in this. I like that it's based on your hotels and how many people are there. It feels very thematic, right? You are gaining income based on the number of people you have attracted into your dinosaur park. And there are some options, that are out there on the board for you to make a little extra supplemental money. You can go, I think it's the ferry location, where you can go and grab some extra cash. You can also sell some of your dinosaur DNA for some cash if you're strapped and you need a little bit more. But it does have that very distinct income phase as you're going down through. Every round has that phase where you go through and you collect money, and that money is vital because it's how you are going to build all of the features in your park. It's not necessarily how you build or how you put dinosaurs into your park, but it's how you build all of the features, either on the visitor side or on the park side, and fences and everything else is all income based. So it has, it's a strong part of the game. And the game gives you plenty of options to supplement that income while also giving you a very distinct income phase. Yeah. So I really like this one. My number 4, Dinogenics.
Yeah. In fact, it probably would have made my top 5 had it filtered with BGG that it was an income game. And it clearly is an income game.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it hasn't been listed as that as a key mechanic in it. But yeah, Dinogenics would have made my top 5 easily. Easily would have shoved out Power Grid. I don't know. Star Wars Rebellion probably would have bumped up, and it would have pushed out my number 2 even. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at that. And then just for those who keeping track at home, Star Wars Rebellion is number 9 overall.
9. Okay. I knew it was up there, but yeah, that's great. Very, very excellent.
All right. My number 3 is would have been Andy's number 1.
Yes.
And this is From the Moon. From the Moon has been a great discovery. That was one that I was hesitant. Well, I wasn't hesitant to pick up, but it was one that I hadn't done any research on, and then came up as a pre-order game, and I looked at it and I thought, that looks. The picture of the box pulled me in, and then I got through this, read the rules, and I was way excited. This is all about trying to gather and control your income that you use to gain the resources, to advance your buildings, to progress your game. And From the Moon just does it very well. You just don't let Andy play the cyborgs, and then you can have fun at the game. But From the Moon.
Apparently that is a thing.
Yeah. And learn how to use your magnets, right? When you glue magnets to your pieces.
Yeah.
But again, From the Moon is an excellent game that I think hits on so many levels. And the cool rovers with the astronauts in it, with their little backpacks that you put the flags in, all cool mechanics and all set on a retail version. So
yeah,
no loss from, I don't think it crowdfunded at all, but as a retail version game, I give it 2 thumbs up.
Nice. Yeah. You and Andy have really, really enjoyed this game. This was another one that fell into that category of, okay, the writing's on the wall. Let's wrap her up. And then it didn't. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. And like, that was my experience. And I would say like, okay, well, I need to just play it again, because that was just my experience. You know, like I'd maybe backpedal that a little bit, except that everyone who's played it with Andy has essentially had the exact same experience.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's kind of funny.
Like, okay, it wasn't just me.
Yeah, the Andy complains about his terraforming Mars experience, and he doesn't realize that he's causing the terraforming Mars experience for other people.
For everyone else. Yeah, it's okay. I mean,
it's always good when you're the winner.
Yeah, I sure. Yeah. If winning's that important, I'd rather have fun, but that's okay.
And
to each his own.
Yeah. And I don't think he's saying winning is everything.
No, I don't think so either.
But he does that game well.
There's
does games that click, and that clicked for him.
For sure. Yeah, that's definitely true. My number 3 is the other game on my list that's maybe just a touch of a stretch, because the player creates the income, and that is Merchants of the Dark Road. But generating that income is so stinking fun in this game. I love going around that rondel, and you're trying to maximize your storage capacity in your carriage, in your caravan, whatever your merchant vessel, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you've got like that little gridded pattern, and you're collecting all the different items. You've got the books and staves and weapons and all armor and all these things, and trying to maximize that, and then taking it all and going and delivering it for a burst of coins feels really good and plays really, really smooth. It's something that I really enjoy about the game. I also really love that, like one of the things that this game does that there are a few games out there that do this, but it's rare, and I wish more would do it. You have sort of your money and you have your fame. And at the end of the game, your score is going to be the lower of those two. So you're really incentivized to make sure that you find a good balance between the two, try to push them both up, because, if you make a ton of money but don't have any fame, guess what? Your score is based on your fame. Or if it's reversed, then the opposite is true. And so you really want to keep those as balanced as possible as you're playing the game and working your way up. And I like that puzzle to solve in this game.
I like how the rule book declared that discrepancy, right? I mean, you can have all the money, but no one's going to sing songs about you.
Yeah.
Or nobody sings songs about people who have no money. So
right. Yeah. No, it's very good.
This is one of those games we talked right before recording tonight, that this is one of those games that for some reason you talk about it, everybody talks about it, and I'm like, it has great things for sure, and I loved the magnet rondel that was on the board, but this is just a game that I am never going to play again.
You've decided?
Yeah, and it's I don't want to say never, but me allowing the opportunity for that to say, okay, sure, let's play that, very rare. It's not going to happen.
Right. But it was only because that's a total side tangent about like gaming experiences.
Yeah.
But it's just because we played it late, and you had early morning obligations, and you were frustrated.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be playing this game. And so it ruined it for you, and then you've never recovered.
Yeah. Yeah. It's scarred me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe I could find it in my heart to get over From the Moon if you could get over Merchants of the Dark Road. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Well, I have somebody
Such babies. Such babies
I
when it
know.
comes to playing games.
All right. So my number 2 is a drastically different game than my number 3, and this is Seven Wonders Duel.
Yeah.
Seven Wonders Duel. This is another one that my wife very much enjoys, and we play time and time again. I'd have to look up the number of plays, and I've played on this. I'm probably into the 70s easily of times that I've played this game. Seven Wonders Duel. I love how you're collecting resources and using those resources to essentially make your wonders cheaper. You're using those as income to reduce your wonders. You're selling cards to gain more money to allow you to buy better cards or cards that are going to help you more. They're a very simple card game that balances that economy and that money that is needed for advancing your game. Is done very well. And Seven Wonders Duel is a game that I would highly recommend to anybody. Yes, it's a 2-player game, but it is one that you can play really quick.
It's excellent.
Yeah. High marks for Seven Wonders Duel for sure.
Yeah, and there's nothing more frustrating than getting that perfect card that you need and then realizing you don't have the cash to pay for it.
Yes, yeah.
And
then you have to discard
and
it.
then you're like, well, I can't let my opponent have it because it's a great card. So guess what? I'm selling it.
Yeah. Oh, that drives
make
me
that money.
nuts.
Yep. But that's one of the things that this game does so well. I like that. I like that pick quite a lot. Okay, my number 2 is a game that I feel like does income incredibly well because it uses it in a variety of unique ways, and that is a Feast for Odin. So income or money in the game can be used for trades. But it can also be used to fill in all the little spots on your grid. So in a Feast for Odin, you're filling out your island, and it uses all these different like polyomino pieces, and the coins can come, they're basically, it's 1 coin per square kind of thing. And so it's a very versatile tool to use to get into some of those harder spots as you're filling out your grid and trying to cover up your islands. But it also does have a very distinct income phase. So as you cover up your islands, the money kind of runs. It usually runs as a diagonal up the islands. And so, the way that you have to cover things up is you have to start down in the one corner and you have to kind of grid it out. You have to be able to, in order to gain more income, everything to the left and everything below that particular income has to be filled in, as well as all of the little pieces in that block moving to the lower left. And so, it's a unique puzzle, but also filling all of that in is how you increase that income. And then at the end of every round, there's a time where you look and you see, okay, what's the minimum amount that's covered up? And those are the coins that I get. And then again, you can use that money to perform some of the actions that are out on the board, or you can use it to fill in your grid even further. So
yeah, it's an interesting mechanic with Feast for Odin that I like, because you can cover the island as large as you want, but you're never going to increase that income until you have that equal ratio of going to the left and going down, and which is a challenge in itself. But at the same point, you want to try to take advantage with laying other resources down to fill up those spots to help cover that in the future. I think that's a very interesting and unique model of that income. And I like this game. I need to play it more to get a better handle on it. And I'm open to this. Unlike Merchants of the Dark Road, I am very open to playing a Feast for Odin more to the table.
Excellent.
More to the table. That didn't make any sense, but I want to play it more.
Excellent.
All right. Well, that brings us to my number 1. This is a recent discovery last year that has, along with Dinogenics, has made my favorite lists for sure.
It's climbing mine really fast too.
Yeah.
And I've only played it twice. I love this game.
It is an exceptional game, and that is River of Gold. River of Gold is a game that's based in the L5R universe. It has a very beautiful board with the embossed gold in the river to highlight the River of Gold. And Doug, you, for the holidays, for Christmas, you got me a very clever, very nice looking insert that makes all of the game just, it fits in the box very well and makes the game pop even more. And so I'm very grateful for that. This is something that as I've introduced my daughter, I've introduced my wife, everybody's liking River of Gold. Everybody I've taught it to has enjoyed River of Gold.
Yeah.
But you have a couple options on your turn. You have a divine favor that you can alter your die, but your die means everything. And you're going to roll it once at the end of your turn. And so that die face is set. And so you can start to plan out what you're going to be doing on your next turn because you know what that result is. You're either going to use the number on the die, or you're going to use the face, which represents one of the 6 clans that are on the board, and the number is going to indicate how many spaces you can move either of your boats up the river. And as you stop at the river, your boat is going to be touching 4 buildings, and depending on what is in those buildings are going to generate the resource or the income that you're going to have. And then if you reach the end of the river, then you're going to reset and start at the beginning. But at the end of the river, you also get the opportunity to score an income at the end because you're either going to gain resources or you're going to be gaining kuko, which you're going to use to buy buildings. And when you're buying buildings, you are limited to the number of kuko you have, of course, but you are limited by the face that is on the die. And so each spot on the river, each face of the die represents 5 or 6 spots, I can't remember, on the river. And you must, whatever that face shows is where you're limited to building in that round, that turn. Right. And so you can spend your divine favor to adjust that. Yeah. For each divine favor you spend, you can adjust the die one face, but you're limited to building buildings only in that region. And then it's the same thing if you're trying to deliver to merchants. You're collecting resources and you want to deliver them to merchants. You have to confer that die face and say, okay, I have the mountain clan or I have the grain clan. I have to deliver only to merchants that are in that. And so again, you're gonna manage that divine favor to your advantage so that you can deliver to those goods. And everybody will always have 2 merchants in their hand. And so you're going to try to manage which one you're going to do. If you deliver to a merchant, you're going to draw 2 new merchant cards, bringing you up to 3, discarding down to 2. Or if you something ever causes you to gain an additional merchant, you're going to have to evaluate all your merchants, discard down to 2. So that you always have that balance of 2 merchants, 2 options to deliver to. This game does everything well.
Yeah, it really does.
And I love this game. I cannot get enough of this game.
It's excellent. It really is. And I like how the money, the kuko or whatever it is, the money feels very distinct and different from the other 3 resources that are in the game, right? It's not just a 4th resource for you to collect. It is its own thing. It does its own stuff. And you can build an engine around gaining just the money if you would like. Through the purchasing and building of buildings and the bonuses and synergies that come through doing that, it kind of allows you to customize what kind of an, again, air quotes, income engine you want to build, whether that's the resources or the money. But it allows you to make that decision, right? As the player, you have the agency to decide, okay, what bonuses are the most important to me and where do I want to build? And how do I want to try to incentivize players to trigger this particular building so that I can collect that income and then be able to use it? And so, I think this game is really excellent. It's truly, truly an outstanding game. Visually, components, and gameplay. We sat down and played it. There were 4 of us the last time we played it here at your house. And I think after the teach, it was under an hour.
It's a very quick
45 minutes to an hour to play the game. It's fast. Everyone had a good time. It's super snappy and just gives you a ton of fun. Yeah. I mean, it really was. It was just a ton of fun. It's a big burst of enjoyment.
Yeah. I taught it to Ashley and her boyfriend, Zach, and he was overwhelmed at first because there's so much going on.
Sure.
And as was my wife. But as you're playing, it is very quick to pick up and it all makes sense. And he's very anxious to play it again, which is a big plus for me, right? If somebody's going to say, hey, let's play that again, or I'm ready to play that anytime you want, this game will easily be hitting my table again and again and again. And it has a great BGA implementation.
Nice. Very nice. Excellent pick. My number one is, man, it's one of those games I really, really, really want you and Andy to sit down and play with me. This is Ark Nova. It's one of my favorite games. This is an excellent game, but this definitely has an economy that revolves around having money. You got to have money in order to build the enclosures in your zoo, and you got to have money in order to actually place your animals in those enclosures. And so making sure that you have a good engine set up for generating money. I mean, there's some that's just residual. You're going to get a certain amount no matter what. But finding that balance as you climb on the track, on the appeal track, that's going to determine how much money you make. But you can also supplement that money through some of the actions on the cards, through some of the bonuses that you can take, and through the placement of certain buildings, like the kiosks in particular. Strategically placing them and then surrounding them with buildings that have animals in them will also, generate some income for you. I have had games of Ark Nova where if you don't have a good income phase or a good income engine built, it completely stymies the entire game, because you don't feel like you can get much going. You've got to fish for the cheaper cards or try to get discounts on them, or you're focused on just trying to build that part of the game. I think that in certain circumstances, I think like new players in particular, I think are going to find, I think that is something that they find difficult at first. It's like, oh, I'm running out of money really fast, because you can blow through your money without really thinking about it in this game. And
I do that in real life.
Well, don't we all? But finding the balance with your money is, I think, one of those things that experienced players become a lot better at. And you'll notice that experienced players, it's kind of crazy how much money they can start to generate. Yeah. And so it's one of those games that it relies heavily on it, but it gives you lots of tools to make sure that you can manage it and manage it well. So
now, this is one that I owned for quite a while and played several times. I very much enjoyed it. I wasn't very good at it, but I haven't replayed it. I ended up culling it, but I haven't replayed it since they balanced the scoring, how the scoring works out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I need to try it again.
And it technically is the same. It just doesn't, they just changed it so you don't go into negative points. It's just all positive, but it ends up being the same either way. So,
okay.
Yep.
But yeah, I need to try this again. I'm very much willing and anxious to play this again. So
excellent. Good. Maybe BryceCon.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Yeah. We could probably even convince Cheryl to play this one.
Ooh, that would be amazing. I would love that.
So I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'll probably take it just in case.
Sounds good. I will try to play it for sure.
Excellent.
Well, that is an amazing list of 10 of our top games for the income mechanic. I don't know if we blurred those lines very much. I think we blurred them a lot more when we were talking about the income games in general.
I think they started blurry.
Yeah.
But yes, I don't know if we helped clarify at all.
Yeah. No, I think these lists were far more precise and clean cut, but 10 excellent games.
Yeah.
And like I said, I can guarantee that Andy's number one was From the Moon, and Terra Mystica Gaia Project would have been on his list.
I'm sure they would have been. Yeah.
So that concludes our top 5 income games of this episode. I don't know where I was going with that.
Of all time? Is it of all time?
No, it's definitely not of all time.
Of today.
Of today, yeah.
Until next time.
We'll see you counting down your income games at the game table.
Thank you for listening and being a part of Meeple Nation. If you would be so kind as to follow, subscribe, share, and rate or review this podcast, it really helps to spread the fun. You can be more involved in supporting the podcast by joining the nation at patreon.com/MeepleNation, or you can find a link at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. And while you're there, look at all our extra content. There are links to all our past episodes, a wide variety of blogs, pictures from our Instagram feed, and bios for all the hosts and our awesome bloggers. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all under Meeple Nation. If you would like to chat with the hosts or other members of the nation, you can join our Facebook group, Meeple Nation Off Air. We hope to see you again at a game night, a con, or maybe a suspense-driven evening of Werewolf. Thank you for listening and supporting Meeple Nation, and stay tuned for next week's episode.
Thank you so much for listening. We very much want to thank our patrons who help keep the podcast running. I personally want to thank my co-hosts for all the help they provide with both content here on the podcast, in addition to what we have available on our website. Without them, the podcast would not happen. If you too would like to support the podcast, you can join the nation at patreon.com/Meeple_nation. Or you can find a link to Patreon at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. If you have any questions, comments, or games you feel should be on our radar, you can always reach us at meeplenation@gmail.com. We can't wait to hear from you. I am grateful to Doug and Andy who helped me edit episodes, and I want to thank James and Kim Clark who do the editing on our blogs and on our webpage, which can be found at meeplenation.com. We want to thank Brain Detergent for our music. If you want to find more from him, you can follow his links that can be found on our webpage, or simply search for Brain Detergent on YouTube to find more of his tracks. Thank you again for listening and being part of the Meeple Nation community.